Live from the studios at Brigham Young University, the award-winning 11 News at Noon starts now.
A trooper and a family are in the hospital after a crash on I-15. We have the latest on their conditions.
Made in Mexico, how an import tax on foreign goods will impact Utah families and businesses.
BYU police released their annual campus report. What they published might surprise you. I'm Rachel Griffin.
And I'm James Peterson. Welcome to 11 News at Noon. A routine traffic stop turned into a 4-hour traffic delay when a driver hit a trooper's car. A sleepy driver crashed into a Utah Highway Patrol car on I-15, causing a chain reaction that put the officer in critical condition. 11 News reporter Allie Davis tells us what happened through an eyewitness reaction posted on Snapchat.
Authorities say the trooper was talking to a woman he pulled over on I-15 in Linden when suddenly a Suburban crashed into his patrol car. As you can see in this picture, the accident caused a mess on the interstate involving at least 3 cars and slowed down traffic on the interstate for more than 4 hours. Several drivers who saw the accident stopped to help.
So I just had the craziest experience ever.
One of them, UVU student McCall Magleby, witnessed the accident and recorded her reaction on Snapchat.
I got out of my car and I ran over to the officer. He was on the ground and checked him out. And he was not doing good. He was pretty confused out of it, and it looked like he might have broken his legs.
Magleby says she also tried to help the man driving the Suburban and his kids.
And I pulled open the door, and they were screaming. Luckily, there was another girl there that was also a student nurse who had gloves in her car, and she came in there and we started compressing their wound.
Utah Highway Patrol identified the trooper as 27-year-old Devin Gurney. Paramedics transported Gurney to the Utah Valley Medical Center with bad injuries. Authorities say the driver of the SUV broke his leg and his 3 kids also received injuries.
I honestly am speechless. I don't know what just happened. So, if you could, just keep that family and the officer and the other girl involved in your prayers.
Authorities say Trooper Gurney never lost consciousness and should be released from the hospital in the next day or 2. The driver of the SUV had surgery on his leg yesterday afternoon and is still hospitalized. The Utah County Sheriff's Office said the driver will be charged with a traffic violation after he is released from the hospital.
Utah House leaders are deciding to tap the brakes on restoring full sales tax on all food purchases and giving low-income Utahns tax credits. Senate Majority Leader Brad Wilson says the House feels that they don't have adequate information in time, so they don't want to jump into anything. Wilson is proud of the decision, saying there is always next year.
The House passed a $100 million budget increase to build the new Utah State Prison. Concerns arose in December that the original budget of $475 million would not be enough. This is because of the increasing costs in Utah's booming construction market. The bill would authorize bonding for another $100 million, totaling $575 million. The bill would also allow the bond payment period to extend 10 years.
House Republicans are advocating a replacement for Obamacare. The plan offers refundable tax credits to purchase insurance and restructures the Medicaid program. It also strips federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Experts warn the changes could result in millions losing coverage. House Speaker Paul Ryan says the bill will provide, in his own words, a stable transition so that no one has the rug pulled out from under them. Legislators will unveil the bill Wednesday.
Ben Carson has shocked Americans by comparing slaves to immigrants. Carson made the controversial statement at the Department of Housing and Urban Development yesterday. An HUD spokesperson attempted to clarify Carson's statement, saying nobody here believed he was equating voluntary immigration with involuntary servitude. Critics were quick to respond. One person tweeted, "Ben Carson is also the guy who once compared Obamacare to slavery." And the NAACP tweeted, "Immigrants?" Amid the uproar over his remarks, Carson's official Facebook page clarified, saying slaves and immigrants had 2 entirely different experiences.
If you enjoy eating guacamole as you watch March Madness, you may have to dish out more cash for the same ingredients next year. President Trump proposes a hefty tax on imports to pay for the border wall. 11 News reporter Sydney Mercader goes in depth with a look at how this could affect Utah families and businesses.
This avocado came from Mexico. So did this tomato and this onion. All ingredients for the perfect guacamole. But President Trump's proposed policy on imports might just make it so these items are harder to come by. He is considering a 20% tariff on foreign imports to fund a multi-billion-dollar wall on the U.S. southern border. According to Fortune magazine, a group of 25 companies of the American-made coalition are in favor of a border adjustment tax. Companies like GE and Johnson & Johnson think this tax is a good way to provide more jobs and produce more items in country. Utah Food Industry President Dave Davis says otherwise.
If we tax goods from outside the country, that's going to mean more production inside the country here. But as a simple fact of the matter, there is more demand here in the United States than what we can actually produce.
And if taxed, fresh fruits will cost more than just pocket change.
Consumers better prepare themselves for the $3 banana.
But fruit is not Mexico's only popular item.
Mexico is the world's second largest supplier for agricultural products here in the U.S. In fact, over the past year, they spent about $4.3 billion in vegetables just like this one.
According to the Office of U.S. Trade Representative, the U.S. spent more than $21 billion on food products. The leading items were fresh vegetables and fruits, wine and beer, snack foods, and processed fruits and vegetables. If these imports are taxed at a higher rate,
it's going to drive the cost of goods for consumers up in our supermarkets, in our retail stores.
A busy house and a busy mom. Teaching the elephant dance is just one of the things Candace Larson does each day. And she says shopping to feed her 8 kids can be a challenge.
For 10 people, I just look at what's on sale that week and try to base my meals around that.
She also has a son who is diabetic and needs to eat healthy foods. If produce prices go up, she says,
we would just maybe have to eat a lot more ramen and spaghetti and cut down on all the fresh, healthier things.
And then there's Jorge Fierro. He owns a distribution company, Rico Brand, and an authentic Mexican restaurant, Frida Bistro. Fierro says he needs specific products from his home country to make his customers happy.
With lacoche and cactus leaves and other items that are only grown in Mexico.
Without those products, Fierro says he would have to raise prices and minimize portions.
It would be quite devastating for me to do it.
Fierro makes and packages his homemade Mexican cuisine and sends it off to many local markets. He says it is all due to the U.S. and Mexico's great trading partnership.
We have always had the opportunity to do business with each other.
The benefits are dollar signs. The U.S. does not just buy produce, but also about $295 billion on other things like vehicles and machinery. In return, Mexico buys about $236 billion of products from U.S. farmers. But Davis fears that
the Mexicans are going to turn around and put a tariff on U.S. goods.
Whether you just want cheaper prices on guacamole or the Ford truck, Davis says the best approach is to work with our trading partners and make sure the exchanges are fair. Sydney Mercader, 11 News.
Do you love pancakes? Well, today is the National Pancake Day at IHOP. 11 News reporter Karina Kitchen shows us how an order can both sweeten your day and help a local child.
From now until 7 p.m. today, you can visit your local IHOP and get some free pancakes. All they ask for in return is a little spare change.
Welcome to IHOP. How are you folks doing tonight?
Day and night, there is always a constant flow of traffic in and out of the Orem IHOP. Today, a short stack of pancakes can help save a life. Here's how. You order some buttermilk pancakes.
We give away that free short stack.
IHOP hopes you then donate some money.
As much as possible.
That will go to 3 different charities, including Children's Miracle Network.
Whatever changes underneath your seat, every penny counts. To the children up there, it's a great cause to our community.
Children's Miracle Network CEO John Locke tells us all the money raised stays local. The charity raises money for hospitals that provide treatments to children.
We like the ability to tell our story or create awareness for the fact that children's hospitals do need financial support.
Locke says for Utah,
I like knowing the fact that the money stays local.
The money goes straight to Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City.
They really need the funds to be able to do the work that they do.
IHOP General Manager Sierra Christensen says she's happy to contribute to the cause.
It's busy, we're running all day, but it's definitely at the end of the day you just feel good about what you did here. We count the donations at the end of the day and it's all worth it.
Locke tells us Children's Miracle Network aims to raise between $50,000 and $100,000 for Utah's children during today's fundraiser. James?
Well, I'm more of a waffle person myself, but it's as long as it's for a good cause.
Right. Pancakes, charity, it sounds like a win-win to me. When 11 News continues, 30,000 acres burned after a wildfire spreads across the Northwest.
and what BYU police is saying about their student safety.
The nuclear arms race continues just days after North Korea tested 4 ballistic missiles. U.S. missiles designed to reduce the threat of North Korean weapons arrived in South Korea Saturday night. It's part of a system designed to shoot down incoming projectiles that threaten civilians. The new system defends South Korea against missiles from their northern neighbor. North Korea sparked public concern when they increased missile and nuclear tests last year.
BYU Police has released its annual Clary Report. It contains the statistics for sexual assaults and other crimes on campus. 11 News reporter Kayla Fowler combed through the document. She's live with some of the key findings.
So, James, BYU wanted to re-release this 2016 report from October in order for students to realize how safe their campus actually is. The U.S. Department of Education says that BYU actually has one of the lowest rape statistics in the state of Utah. And then BYU police say cases outside of the school zone may actually be much higher.
If something happens outside of that geographical boundary, then Clary isn't interested in that statistic as far as a campus safety report.
BYU Title IX Director Office Tiffany Turley says students shouldn't worry as long as they are on campus.
But we do feel like they're a good indicator of the safety of our physical campus, which is where a lot of our students spend a lot of time.
Even though the report doesn't have all the statistics for off-campus crimes, students can get services here on campus for crimes that didn't happen here. On campus, Kayla Fowler, 11 News.
Genetically modified foods have a negative stereotype, but for people in third world countries, they could mean the difference between a thriving life and starvation. 11 News reporter Kaluhio Kalani talked to a couple BYU professors who modified quinoa and made it even more of a superfood.
In a world where populations are growing fast and some people believe climate change is altering the environment, plant scientists say that crops will fail, but there is a beacon of hope. Plant and wildlife professors Dr. Rick Jellin and Dr. Jeff Mon believe quinoa is a grain that may hold the keys to feeding the world's population. Quinoa typically grows at higher altitudes, but the scientists say the genetic makeup of the grain allowed them to modify it to grow in low altitude environments.
We were challenged to find a way to use our skills to better the world.
The researchers say quinoa can grow in salty soils and dry soils where other staple crops cannot. This would make the grain valuable to countries like Saudi Arabia because it can take in salty water.
It should be having a positive impact. Maybe the most significant positive impact would be upon their water resources in that country.
The researchers hope that what they've uncovered about the grain will lead to increased production globally.
So what are some of the modifications that they're making to quinoa?
Well, there's a soapy material that surrounds the seed of quinoa that people rinse off. That causes it to lose some of the valuable nutrients. The professors figured out how to make this part sweeter so that people will want to eat it. This should help people in developing countries receive the nutrients they need.
Thanks, Kamalani.
Raging wildfires sweep across the Midwest. A California Trump rally turns violent, and the National Spelling Bee gets an unlikely new contestant. This is your look at news from across the nation. Berkeley's mayor is standing behind the actions of his police officers following a violent anti-Trump march. Law enforcement responded to protesters who had pipes and 2x4s loaded with nails. People are questioning the officers' methods towards handling the protesters. Police say they released more videos and photos from the demonstration in hopes of identifying those who came to fight. A grass fire burned more than 30,000 acres of land in northeast Colorado yesterday. It took more than 70 firefighters from 13 fire departments to contain the raging flames. Although there were no injuries, the fire destroyed 3 homes and 1 other structure. A shelter was set up for people with damaged homes. A 5-year-old Oklahoma girl qualified for the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She is now the youngest person ever to participate in the national event. Edith Folder is a gifted speller. She's the new regional champion after beating 50 students, some even twice her age. Edith will now begin preparing for the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Mom and Dad will be alongside to help her make history. And that's your look at news from across the nation.
Well, Leanna, I am so ready for spring. So tell me when the winter spell is going to be over.
You know, I feel like everyone is saying the same thing. People in Utah, once it hits 40 degrees, they whip out their shorts and they bring out their kayaks, but just hold your horses. It's not quite spring yet. Utah's weather can be pretty deceptive, but I'll have some real details for you when we come back. Large hailstorms and tornadoes are threatening along southeastern states, including northern Mississippi, Arkansas, and northern Louisiana. As of 4 a.m. today, there have already been 29 tornado reports. The National Weather Service predicts severe thunderstorms and high wind speeds. A possible tornado injured several and damaged multiple homes in Oak Grove and Trimble, Missouri. Officials are warning people to take precaution. Well, we might not be getting some thunderstorms in Utah, but we definitely are always thrown for a whirlwind in this Utah weather. If you look outside, it looks like it's spring weather out here. These beautiful mountains, beautiful skies, but actually it's a little bit chilly here. So it's 44 degrees, 43% humidity with slight wind speeds, and that makes it a bitter wind chill still. So it doesn't really feel like spring. And the rest of Utah is kind of experiencing the same thing. Not too bad of temperatures, but not toasty warm. So right here in Salt Lake and Provo, we're in mid 40s. And then Wendover there, 50. Down here in Moab, 57. Down there in St. George, 63 topping out there. So we're just getting some slight clouds here in Salt Lake City, but the rest of the state looks pretty sunny. So then by tonight, the clouds will kind of move in. Clouds will stay there in Salt Lake, move into Moab and St. George. We'll get a little bit cooler, but not too bad here in Vernal. We're at 22, 29 in Cedar City, but not too much of a drop there. If we look closer at our 5-day forecast for southern Utah, look at them. They know how to do March right. Look, sunny skies through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're climbing up those temperatures, 63, 73, topping out at 79 on Friday. The clouds are going to start creeping back in a little bit on Friday and Saturday there. But you know what? You win some, you lose some. They do have some beautiful weather, but they are having some allergy pollen counts there. So they got to watch out for the tree pollen count. It's kind of some high risk there. And then in northern Utah here, we have some not quite as sunny skies, but we will be having some flurries today. We could possibly be having some snow flurries there, and then partly cloudy skies throughout the week. Saturday should be mostly cloudy skies, or mostly sunny skies with a couple clouds here and there. Winter temperatures mid-50s. So yeah, you know, I mean, I actually had to buy some gloves this weekend, but so it's not quite spring yet, spring temperatures, but
yeah,
we'll
at least
get there
it's not
soon.
snowing.
We'll get there.
So when 11 Sports comes back, BYU men's and women's hoops square up against St. Mary's in the WCC semifinals. And fresh off a huge comeback win, the Jazz return home hoping to pick up another win. The Cougar basketball team traveled to Sin City hoping to play spoiler in the WCC tournament following BYU's big win in the season finale. Monday night, the Cougs faced the St. Mary's Gales in the semifinals. Both teams struggled to find a rhythm early on, but Jock Landale got things started with this bucket. Emmett Nair adds to the Gales' lead with this three. Elijah Bryant for the Cougs, trying to get BYU back into it, dribbles through traffic and gets the contested layup. Calvin Hermanson wide open beyond the arc, and he killed BYU from deep, going 4 for 7. Nick Emery in the paint and rejects Nair's layup. BYU down 14 and looking for some momentum, and the Ginger Mamba answers. He sinks back-to-back threes to make it an 8-point game. St. Mary's is having none of that, though. This tray from Hermanson puts the lead back out to 15. Second half, and Hermanson is back at it again with another three. Dish and dunk to Landale, who slams it home to put the Gales up 27. They ran BYU right out of the gym, winning 81-50. BYU women in action earlier in the day, hoping to give fans something to smile about. Mackenzie Pulsifer on the fast break, up and in. Broadhead finds her on the wing, and the three's good. Clock winding down, Kalani Purcell takes it herself, putting BYU up by 7 heading into halftime. Pulsifer adds to BYU's lead with a nice drive and finish. She led all scorers with 16 points. St. Mary's marching back into it. Sydney Raggio gives the Gales back-to-back buckets to cut BYU's lead down to 1, but the Cougs aren't finished. Pulsifer drains the long jumper to make it a 1-score game, but St. Mary's answers back. This Raggio bucket gives the Gales a double-digit lead. Broadhead with a defender all over her misses the three, but Kalani Purcell is there to clean it up. But it's not enough as St. Mary's moves on to the championship game, winning 59-49. So tonight's championship games will be a doubleheader for the men's and women's teams for both Gonzaga and St. Mary's. The prize, an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And even though BYU's teams are no longer in the tournament, you may not realize the work that goes into getting the 18 different men's and women's games on the air. 11 News reporter Alex Sanders has a look at what goes on behind the scenes.
BYU TV started covering 12 of the 18 West Coast Conference tournament games back in 2010. It did this before BYU even joined the conference. Producers view covering the Vegas tournament as not just a courtesy to the conference, but as an opportunity to draw in a bigger audience.
2, 1.
A lot of work goes into what you end up seeing on your TV screen. BYU Broadcasting begins preparing months before the first game tips off.
We spent a lot of time getting graphics ready, a lot of effects and stuff like that, planning what we're going to need, how many cameras we're going to need, how many microphones we're going to need, where we're going to put everything.
The broadcasting truck made it to Las Vegas on Tuesday, then crew spent all day Wednesday setting up cameras, microphones, and thousands of feet of cable.
Long hours, we're beat by the time we're done, but it's an amazing, cool thing to do with all the crew that we have here, and to pull it off at the end is awesome.
BYU TV also takes a handful of students in addition to the more than 30 full-time and contracted crew members.
I had to communicate with my professors, make sure I could turn in homework assignments online or early.
Hello, can you hear me?
Producers say it's a big sacrifice, but the payoff is big enough to keep BYU TV coming back year after year. Reporting in Las Vegas, Alex Sanders, 11 News.
U.S. Soccer has introduced a new policy requiring players to stand respectfully during the playoff of the national anthems at any event in which the federation is represented. The move comes after a player on the women's team, Megan Rapinoe, kneeled during the anthem against games against Thailand and the Netherlands in September. In response to her actions, U.S. Soccer released a statement saying, "We have an expectation that our players and coaches will stand and honor the flag while the national anthem is played. The new policy does not clarify any punishment for individuals who defy the ruling." Coming off a huge comeback win on Sunday night, the Jazz hope to carry the momentum into last night's game against the Pelicans. A couple of All-Stars in town for the contest. Gordon Hayward gets the tip in off the Gobert assist. And watch right here as they switch roles. Jazz jumped out to a 15-point lead in the first quarter. Hayward making it rain from beyond the arc, and Ingles leading the fast break and finds Hayward for the easy layup. And here's Ingles to Hayward again for the huge slam. Hayward finished with 23 points. Check out this pass from Davis to Crawford, and he finishes with the reverse layup. Crawford drives and finds the brow for a thundering dunk, makes it a 4-point game. Next possession, Hayward gives the Jazz some breathing room with this tray. Just under 2 minutes to go, and Slow-Mo Joe seals the deal with the three, sending fans to their feet. Jazz win 88-83. And check out this top play from Kawhi Leonard. He gets it done on both ends of the floor, leading his Spurs to the win. Right. Awesome play. Awesome play. I love March basketball. It's so much fun between college and the NBA. A lot of fun.
All right. Well, thanks, Zach. We'll be right back.
A college student in Arkansas got pulled over on suspicion of DUI. Officers pulled Blake Puckett over Friday because he was driving slowly and had broken a taillight. To prove he was not drunk, Puckett started juggling. The magician's license plate even says juggler. He made a case for himself. The officers say they quickly realized.
And that's your 11 News.
And that's your 11 News.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, juggling. It's funny.